It was definitely about playing, about doing, and when you're younger, it's not always actually at training and stuff like that. It's in your backyard, it's down the park, it's in the middle of your street, forcing your dad outside to play. And it's probably more so just having a ball. That was probably my favourite part about it. Well, I loved primary school, I hated high school. My primary school was Currumbine Primary, and it was a big footballing school, soccer school, in terms of the personnel that went to that school. We had a big oval that recess, lunch, and after school we'd all play about 25 versus 25 with one ball with a full AFL pitch. That's why I loved it, to be honest. There was just a massive core group of us there who just lived to play football at recess, lunch, and after school. Growing up, the opportunity to watch like Premier League games and stuff like that was actually a little bit more difficult. You had to wait till the Monday night at, I think it was 7:30 p.m. to get your hour highlights show on SBS or whatever it was on. So that was kind of my main viewing of football each week on the TV, which I'd watch with my dad, and obviously going to the Glory games live. I used to love that because of the buzz and the atmosphere and the emotion and that side of it. My first memory of Perth Glory games is the smell of chicken treat and beer, And I used to love that smell. It was kind of like, you knew there was something that was happening. Yeah, just the memories of when there's a goal, you used to jump up onto the wooden seat, and it was obviously packed back then. And they had people like Bobby Despotowski and Damien Murray and all of those sorts of guys. Funnily enough, my favourite player when I was a kid was Gavin Wilkinson. So I'm not too sure if how he actually went, but again, when you're a kid, you sort of lock on to certain people, and he was my favourite player growing up. So I used to dye my hair orange, and my dad still laughs about it today of me being a striker and loving scoring goals, yet I was just obsessed with this fullback. They're both really good, both in their own ways. My dad's obsessed with football as well, more so on the watching side of it. Sort of guy that just remembers every single little detail of every single player's full history known to the footballing world, which is quite concerning for me sometimes. So he's from Glasgow in Scotland, support Celtic, moved here when he was, I think maybe between 16 to 18 or something like that, on these on the big boats. I'm pretty sure that he came over on back in the day when they used to do that. When he moved here, I'm pretty sure it was Kingsley Soccer Club that he used to play for, and I think he was a right winger. But I certainly remember going to his games, and I used to love going in the change room, and I just remember the smell of Denkerub just overpowering the small sort of 6 metre by 6 metre room, and the sound of metal studs just crunching themselves on the metal floor. And that was probably one of my first memories of like football as a kid. The smell of Denkerub and the sound of metal studs. There's pretty much nothing else that me and him ever speak about. Even if I send him a message, ask him a question about something else, which is usually a black and white answer. It's either a yes or a no about something that I might need to find out, whether it's about tax or something that he'd probably be pretty smart at. I usually get a phone call that lasts 3 hours about football. But apart from that, there's probably not too much else that we speak about. And my mum, not someone who naturally loves the game, but for me, she knows how much I love it. So she's probably been, probably my biggest supporter throughout my life. And I think she was so supportive because she knows how much I love it. And yeah. So growing up, I was obviously playing at ECU for majority of my junior years. I think from under 11s was their youngest age group at the time, and went through that system. And some people probably remember, but you kind of either made the choice then of going through your club system and maybe trialling over in England and and trying to sign for a team over there, or you chose the Australian pathway, which was to go through the NTC and the state teams and then try and get picked up by the AIS, which at the time, a lot of the A-League clubs were getting their players from. You'd go to the AIS for 2 years, and then most A-League clubs would kind of pick and choose the players from that 2 or 3 year age group between the ages of like 15 to 17, 18, and then they'd go and sign for A-League teams. Being a player at ECU, it's obviously a very British club. It's sort of from the area of Perth where a lot of people are English, Scottish, Irish, and so the pathway for us was kind of to play for ECU and then go overseas on trial. And you had so many players do it at the time: Reece Williams, Shane Larry, Chris Hurd, and a ton more that went through that pathway. So that was kind of my original thought, and it was Kenny Lowe who almost forced me to come into the NTC, and I'm so thankful that he did it, because I'm happy that I went through that pathway, and I think that was, the few years after that was sort of such a vital part of my development. And Kenny Lowe being such a influential figure on all of our careers, not just mine, but everyone's got their own individual stories from Kenny. He's a great man. But yeah, he kind of forced me into that NTC system. And then the youth league had just started whilst I was going through the NTC. And then during the second year, Gareth Naven asked me to go and train with the youth team through their pre-season or before they were signing players. And I kind of thought it was more so just an opportunity to kind of get a bit of experience and all that sort of stuff. And I just remember one day, Naves had asked me to bring my dad in after training, and then just pretty much told us that he wanted to offer me a youth team contract. And so that was pretty much how I got into the Glory system. Yeah, I just loved having Naves here as a coach. He was a big hard man, got the best out of a lot of players, and got us ready for first team football. Yeah, so I remember the game itself a little bit, and I think when you're younger and haven't experienced that much of the football world, you don't really know where you land in terms of the standard of other players and a big club like Celtic, obviously. And I just remember in that game getting absolutely bullied. I made a few runs, and before I could even get a bit of acceleration, I was on my arse because one of the defenders had checked me, and I just sort of remember enjoying the experience, but also realising like, okay, I've actually got a fair bit that I need to do here to get up to scratch. And it's actually moments like those where you don't really do anything in the game, or you don't really play that well, but you just sort of realise what you need to get to and what you need to do, and the level you need to be at to compete against a team like Celtic, which at the time, I don't know how old I was or something, but I was only young. So I was at HBF Park, and it was a packed stadium. So it was a great experience and great atmosphere, and really enjoyed it, obviously, with my dad being a Celtic fan, but it was definitely an eye-opener of how far I needed to go to make sure that I could sort of step up and be ready for first team football.